We wanted to do this documentary so people wouldn't have to always stare and take pictures, because we don't like when they take pictures, so they just knew who we are and stuff.
On March 7, 1990, doctors gave these twins less than a 1% chance of surviving their first year. They weren't expected to make it through the night. But they did more than survive. They built a life that would later leave the world asking questions no one was prepared to answer. They learned to walk, to ride bikes, to drive a car, and even to teach in a classroom. Then, in 2021, one of them did something that shocked the internet when it finally came to light years later: she got married. Not both of them. Just one. And suddenly, the questions came rushing in. How does that even work? What about the other sister? And why were they seen with a newborn baby? This is the story of Abby and Brittany Hensel. Their mother, Patty, had no idea she was carrying twins. Every ultrasound showed what looked like a single baby. The reason was as rare as it was simple: their heads were perfectly aligned, one directly behind the other, making it impossible to detect two separate babies. Their father, Mike, once mentioned hearing what sounded like two heartbeats. Doctors dismissed it. Everything pointed to a single child. Until the day of delivery. During a C-section in Minnesota, the room fell silent. For about 30 seconds, no one spoke. The doctors and nurses stared in shock. There was one body, but two heads. The twins were born as dicephalic parapagus twins, two heads sharing one body. It's an extremely rare condition, and in most cases, babies don't survive more than a few hours. Doctors told the parents the truth. Their daughters likely wouldn't live through the night. They also offered another option: separation surgery. But it came with a devastating reality. The twins shared vital organs: one liver, one reproductive system, one circulatory system. Separating them would almost certainly mean losing one child. Mike asked the only question that mattered: how do you choose? They didn't. They kept them together. The girls were named Abigail and Brittany. And from the very beginning, their lives defied every expectation. Each twin has her own brain, her own spinal cord, her own heart. But they share a body in a way that requires constant coordination. Abby controls the right side. Brittany controls the left. Every step they take is a joint decision. Walking, clapping, even sitting down, everything requires perfect teamwork. And somehow, they mastered it. They grew up doing everything other kids did: playing sports, swimming, riding bikes, even playing piano together. Abby would handle one side of the keyboard, Brittany the other. They learned to type, to write, to live as individuals while sharing a single physical space. Their parents made one thing clear from the start: their daughters would not be treated differently. No excuses. No limitations. They went to school like everyone else. They earned separate grades, took separate tests, and completed their own assignments, even if it meant placing a divider between them during exams. They grew up in a small town where people knew them not as a medical anomaly, but simply as the Hensel girls. But the outside world saw something else. From a young age, they were thrust into the spotlight: magazine covers, talk shows, documentaries. People were fascinated. Curious. Sometimes respectful, sometimes not. Strangers stared. Took photos without asking. And the twins didn't stay silent about it. They made it clear they were not a spectacle. They were two people. By the time they turned 16, they faced another challenge: driving. Minnesota law required them to pass tests individually. So they did. Abby controlled the pedals. Brittany handled the turn signals. They both steered together. It worked because their entire lives had been built on coordination and compromise. Later, they attended college and earned degrees in education. 2 degrees. 2 licenses. But when they became teachers, they received one salary. From the school's perspective, they filled one position. From theirs, they brought something unique: 2 minds, 2 teaching styles, 2 perspectives in one classroom. And their students loved them. Then, after years in the public eye, they stepped away. For nearly a decade, they lived quietly, working as elementary school teachers and keeping their personal lives private. Until 2024. That's when the internet discovered something that had been kept secret for 3 years. Abby had gotten married in 2021. The ceremony was small, private, and completely out of the spotlight. But once the records surfaced, everything changed. Footage leaked. Photos spread. And the world had questions. Because while Abby is legally married, Britney is still right there, sharing the same body. Legally, it's simple. Abby is an individual, and she entered into a legal marriage. Britney is not part of that union. But in reality, things are far more complex. What does marriage look like when two people share one body? How does privacy work? How do boundaries exist? The twins have never fully answered those questions publicly. And maybe they don't have to. They've always chosen what to share and what to keep for themselves. Then came another moment that reignited curiosity. In 2025, they were photographed with a newborn baby. No confirmation. No explanation. Just more questions. Through all of it, one thing remains consistent: the world sees one body, but the law recognizes two individuals. They each have their own identification, their own rights, their own voice. But their lives exist in a space that laws were never designed to handle. What happens if one commits a crime? How do you punish one without affecting the other? There are no clear answers. And maybe that's what makes their story so powerful. Because beyond the headlines, beyond the curiosity, this is not just a medical story. It's a human one. Two sisters. Two minds. One life shared in a way most of us can't even imagine. They've learned to compromise, to negotiate, to live in constant partnership. When they agree, they speak as one. When they don't, they remind the world they are still individuals. And despite everything, the odds, the attention, the questions, they built something remarkably normal. A life. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the next story that makes you question everything you thought you knew.